So thanks everyone for reconvening here. Excited to start what will be a panel conversation. I'm really privileged to welcome some customer success and industry leaders to the stage. So we have Katie Godnick from Monster, and we'll go through and do a little bit more of a complete introduction. But Jeff Hurst from Waystar, and Shar Govindan from Bentley as well. And so we're going to have a little bit of a discussion around customer success, client success, and I think the great thing is we have a variety of different industries represented here. So I do expect that we'll have some diverse perspectives on some things. So we'll kick things off, and just to get going, perhaps everyone can just give a little bit of an overview on the role, the type of program, and also on your company.
Sure. So my name's Katie Godnick. I am the Senior Manager of Customer Success for Monster Worldwide. Just a quick show of hands, how many people have heard of Monster? And I do not mean the energy drink or the cable company. Okay. Awesome. I've been with the organization for 19 years, or going on 19 years, and I've held a myriad of different roles from sales leadership, in e-commerce, and then, of course, landing in customer success. So I think it all fits nicely together and how we're going to continue to move our business forward, and looking forward to sharing more with you here in a minute.
Very good. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jeff Hurst, Executive Vice President for Waystar. We are a healthcare IT company focused on simplifying and unifying the revenue cycle, which is basically the payment processing within the healthcare industry. I've been with Waystar now 10 and a half months. I have senior executive responsibilities for client success overall, but also operationally for solution adoption, support, operations, and client success management. I've been in healthcare 23 years, 3 years now on the partner side, and 19 years before that on the health system and provider side of the industry.
Excellent. I'm Shar Govindan. I'm the Director of Content Management at Bentley Systems. My role is focused on onboarding our users and our colleagues sometimes, and also on driving adoption of our applications. I've been with the company for 16 years. Bentley Systems is a world leader for advancing infrastructure, so roads, bridges, buildings, anything that you see, most likely a Bentley application was used in building it. We are over 3,500 colleagues worldwide in hundreds of countries, and looking forward to sharing our insights with you guys.
All right, wonderful. So at Tatango, we talk an awful lot about applying customer success practices and incorporating those into business models, and doing that not just for customer success teams, but really engaging the entire company in that process. And so perhaps we'll go right down the line again, and just if you can talk about how important that is for your business, and are there specific cases and situations where you've applied some customer success practices, maybe even outside of the walls of what a customer success team might be?
Sure, would you like
Sure.
to? Ladies first. Okay, so I think that I failed to mention, specifically for customer success, I focus on our sales teams. And so when I take a look at the collaboration of customer success, and what we're trying to do with our sales teams now is evolve the post-sales process that we have. And we started with about 50 sales reps when we first decided to look at implementing Tatango. With that being said, it's the success we've had with those sales reps, and the way we're trying to teach them a really great path from client onboarding all the way through to renewal that has been a success in evolving us to where our whole North American commercial team sales team is now utilizing the service. So I guess what I would say to that is we're changing the way that we are working with our customers on the sales side, but some really great benefits from putting together all of our data allows us to get in front of and more visibility with our product team, for example. So now that we have all of our account information together with our performance, usage, and consumption of our products, we are able to say, hey, product team, you're rolling out this new subscription to all of our e-commerce customers. Right away, we can tell you if the customers are utilizing the services and the products that you put into our subscription, and where do we need to go within our user experience to ensure that if there is a particular part of our product not being used, that they are able to leverage it and we make it more known to our customers. In addition to that, we've been able to take a lot of the data insights that we've gotten to our marketing team. And so when we're trying to help our employers find the right job seekers, looking at the data, where we're successful in the right industries that we have candidates, giving that information to our marketing team so that we are able to better target audiences for both employers who we need to purchase or would like to purchase, and then for job seekers to be able to connect them better. So it's really just opened up a whole host of opportunities for working more collaboratively as an organization.
All right, great. And Jeff?
Sure. So I'm very fortunate. So Waystar is the formation of two large companies that came together, Zirmed and Navicure, back in late 2017. Since then, we've also acquired 4 other companies. But in the healthcare industry, there's an organization known as KLAS. It's kind of the consumer reports, if you will, for the healthcare industry. And for the last 10 years, either Zirmed or Navicure was rated #1, both for value and for service within the healthcare industry for the respective spaces in which we compete. So all that to say, I inherited a great team and a great operation, and so job #1, priority 1 for me is don't screw it up. And so then on top of that, as we've continued to grow, we've brought in additional leadership talent, particularly at the senior executive ranks. A gentleman by the name of Tad Kendall, who's our Chief Growth Officer. He and I literally started within 1 week of each other. And what I would say about Tad is he is probably the most client-centric sales officer I have ever seen in my entire career. I kid you not, there was actually an opportunity at the end of Q1 of this year. The client was ready to sign. Tad had reservations that maybe the client wasn't entirely clear, and we walked away from the deal on the last day of the quarter. All right, so you show me any sales officer who's willing to walk away from a booking on the last day of Q1 to the start of the new fiscal year. So I say all that in the context that I think the culture of Waystar and the level of coordination and collaboration, not just across our senior executive team, but all the way down to our frontline team members, permeates anything and everything we do. The focus we have, the decisions that we make are all focused and centered around how do we improve and elevate and enhance the client experience, not just from a client success management standpoint, but end to end, from product development through sales and growth, all the way through implementation, support, and client relationship management. And so it's just great, quite honestly, to be part of an organization that has a culture where every single team member is focused on delivering a world-class experience for our clients.
Wonderful. Shar?
Thank you. I feel very lucky to be part of Bentley because from top down, our CEO, Greg Bentley, talks about user success, as we call it, in every all-hands meeting. Our head for user success reports directly into him. The metrics is not a department, it's a company-wide culture. In fact, the core team that I'm with, all of my colleagues with me today, they all have extensive user service experience. They come from training, they come from professional services. And instead of having a department or a role, we've ingrained it as part of what they do on an everyday basis. And that's really helped with our adoption, even though we've been focused on successful user outcomes in our own ways through our individual departments and role over the years. The fact that the CEO is behind it and his entire executive cabinet, every time that they meet, they talk about customer success. They talk about what are we doing about this, and that's why Totango is getting implemented so quickly at our companies, because of the top-down support and also the adoption by 1,000 colleagues. I mean, this is some of the most amazing transformation that I've seen at our company. Is not only are we able to get trained on technology, but actually how do you have this conversation with the customer in a human way, right? Trying to put their needs first, and how these roles interact with each other, and tying all those roles in the big picture, and how that's being continuously communicated to the entire company in a periodic way. So it's not something that is a milestone and forgotten, but something that we're adopting. And we're also teaching, we are sharing our success stories. This is so much that I hope to add as we go along this conversation. But I think it's a cultural shift, and we've gone heads up on this one. Yeah.
All right, and so Shar, since you mentioned transformation, so you're going through a lot of change.
Yes.
And earlier in the opening sessions, there was also this theme of resistance. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I would just ask, how much change do you think is going on right now? Do you see that resistance, and is there maybe any difference in the approach to drive improvements at maybe a more accelerated rate for customers?
So thank you, Kevin. That's a really good question. So if you, in my opinion, if you never felt resistance, that means no one's paying attention to it, right? The resistance is the form of them willing to do it if you justify it to them, make them see that these goals and their goals are aligned. And therefore you have this interaction, and then suddenly these same people who may have resisted, and these are all like valid questions. Okay, so you want me to start doing this? What should I stop doing? You know, is this tied to my compensation somehow? You know, how is it going to affect me? What are the kinds of reports that I can get access to have better conversations with the customers? And what kind of information can I provide them? What's in it for the customer, right? Can they get a better discount because they have to listen to what I have to say and do what I want them to do? Are they going to have access to better capabilities? So I see resistance as just people wanting to understand how they can change their role and their life and then just adapt to it. And when you tie all the positive carrots and sticks, right, and it becomes a really good teamwork that we see across the organization. Especially, I think the number one way to approach it when you go top down, and the management and the individual managers of the colleagues, they're the best ones you need to get aligned with, right? Even though it may be the executive level, the individual manager is still controlling how a particular person operates during the day. When they all become aligned, it just flows beautifully. And like the slide that you guys had this morning, it's all about the flow and minimum friction. Right. So it's been a great transformation for us.
All right, Jeff, just in terms of change and friction, are those things that are pretty well underway at Waystar as well?
I believe so. To my earlier point, so we've in less than 24 months, you've had 6 companies come together with Waystar, from a cultural standpoint, from a structural standpoint, personnel, but most importantly from systems and technology and data, et cetera. And so I wouldn't necessarily say Waystar is dealing with friction in terms of competing opinions or perspectives, as much as, all right, we've got 6 companies that we just brought together in a fairly rapid pace with a stated intent and objective of having at least 1 to 2 additional companies every year for the foreseeable future join the Waystar family. And so our big focus is how do we create speed to value in terms of how do we integrate successfully from a technology standpoint, from a data standpoint, from a culture standpoint, and so on and so forth, while simultaneously growing and scaling the company, right? And to my earlier point, first and foremost, don't screw it up. But the reality is, if you're not careful and intentional and thoughtful about managing growth in a sustainable way, you can very quickly get ahead of your skis, and the next thing you know, you've under-resourced, or you've got disparate data points, or quite honestly, you lose touch with your customers. And when you lose touch with your customer, the experience from a customer perspective starts to deteriorate. And then instead of being known for world-class experience, now you're known for average experience, which by and large, quite honestly, is what most of the healthcare industry today is thought of. And so it's really friction in the context of how do we integrate all of these disparate structures, systems, technology together while we continue to drive very aggressively to consolidate as much of the industry as we can.
All right. Katie, I think if you could comment on that, but also you do a lot of work with the sales organization, and given that, in addition to any change and friction that you might experience, you've also produced some dramatic and positive results for the business. So perhaps you can comment on some of the returns that you've seen from some of that cross-functional work and collaboration as well.
Change in general is very hard, and hoping that internally I could use a lot of the street cred of growing up in the sales organization and listening for years and years to our sales teams asking for proactive data, taking Tatango and putting everything we've done with Tatango for the sales teams and seeing everything come to fruition in terms of I guess I'll take a step back. In terms of the sales organization, I asked them to take a ride with us. I asked them to stop just using Salesforce. That's what we were using to do all of our account management. I think that we can do this better. I think that we can do it differently. I think we can do it more proactively. And let's go take this journey together and see what comes out of it if we can be more proactive and create a better experience for our customers post-sales. So, a dramatic shift would be the sales team, hey, please stop being your own marketing team. We no longer want you to go out and send emails because you don't know how to segment to your customers in a fashion that is smart. You don't know how to apply what they've purchased in the past so that you're not sacrificing dollars just because you're trying to make a quick sale. Are you selling on value? Maybe you're sending emails, maybe you're not. So that was a really huge shift. You can imagine telling the sales team, hey, we're going to take away from you one of your main ways that you sell on a daily basis. How well that went over at first. But as we've been able to capitalize on success stories, best practices, showing on a daily basis how we're driving revenue, we're able to shift the mentality of the sales team that, hey, maybe there is a better way to do this. And if we focus better on strategically how we onboard our customers, that at the end of the day, what's in it for me in sales is I will have better success professionally and financially. So some of the success that Kevin had, I think, wanted me to allude to is with our small business retention team, after we put all these great features and functionalities that Tatango has into place, we were able to recognize after a year of being in the system, mind you, it was cold turkey. You couldn't just dip your toe in and say we're going to change. It was you have to really try and adopt this philosophy that we're putting forth in terms of customer success. We were able to recognize an 11-point increase in our retention rate. We were just hoping for 3 or 4, but with everybody having a mind shift and participating, really excited about that. And because of that 11-point increase, we were able to recognize $1.5 million more than if we did nothing and if our sales teams just continued to do business as usual. And again, back to the sales rep, that is money back in their pocket for financial and professional success. So,
those are great results. Mm-hmm. And so Jeff, in healthcare, so in what ways are you expecting client success to drive change in some of the areas of return that you'd expect from those programs?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to ask for a quick show of hands. How many people know the difference between a copay and coinsurance?
oh, I wish.
Okay, few. How many know the difference between maximum out-of-pocket responsibility and a deductible?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Yes.
few hands, but by and large. The challenge with healthcare is it's fragmented and it's fractured, but even more so, it's complex and it's complicated. Several years ago, when I was on the provider side of the industry, I had a senior executive, senior vice president in my organization, 30 years in healthcare, and we were talking about some of our consumer initiatives, and he said, "Now explain to me again, what's the difference between a copay and a coinsurance?" And this is somebody that had been in the industry for 30 years. I've been in the industry 23 years, and I personally still have a hard time navigating the medical bills for myself and my family. And my point in saying that is, I think consumer experience and consumer engagement go hand in hand with each other, right? And no matter what your business is or what your industry is, the better your experience is for your customers and your clients, the more engaged they are with your company. And the more engaged they are with your company, the more likely it is that they're going to do more business with you in the future, whether you be a consumer-focused company or a B2B type company. So again, with Waystar, you know, our focus is really trying to streamline that entire revenue cycle payment process in such a way that our clients, the healthcare providers across the country, can really focus on what they're supposed to be doing for their customers, which is delivering high quality care in a very experiential manner, right? And so we almost feel an obligation that the more we can do that for our clients, it allows them to engage with their patients, their communities, the consumers that they serve in the areas in which they operate. And so in some respects, it's not just a business model, it's almost a purpose-driven calling, if you will. And so as much of the friction as we can take out of the processes, both in terms of what we deliver to our clients and then ultimately what they deliver to their consumers, can only elevate, we believe, that entire experience, as well as knowledge, right? Because the more consumers engage in the healthcare industry, the more they tend to be educated about it, the more they understand it, the more they can make smart decisions about how they spend their healthcare dollars. And so although we play a small part in a multi-trillion-dollar business, I ultimately think that each player plays a part in that entire process flow within healthcare, all the way down to the frontline consumer who's in a doctor's office or a hospital system.
Oh, great. And Shar, I think for Bentley, you're looking to essentially onboard 1,000 success team members who are doing a variety of different jobs today. So they might be engineers by job function. Can you talk a little bit about just how do you go about onboarding that many diverse job professions into customer success practices?
It's a great question, Kevin, and I would say it was fabulous teamwork. And I'll give you an example, actually, how we went about it in a very short time, given the fact that, as Kevin said, we were trying to make engineers and support function colleagues and services colleagues and colleagues in so many different roles understand the best practices of customer success, right? I mean, everybody knows what customer success is by definition, but what does it really mean, right? And as you all know, it's going to come down to people, process, and Totango, right? So how does it all work together? And also, what's going to keep them motivated to stop whatever they're doing and truly believe in this? Because you can show them all these case studies of other companies like us who've adapted it and done well. But then how do you onboard them? How do you train people? And what do you train them on, right? Totango is so easy. So training them on Totango is the least or easiest of all, right? When you're trying to do a cultural shift. So the way we did it was everybody was involved, and our senior vice president, David McKinney, he said, you know what, I'm going to role play. So he was actually in a video with another colleague, and everybody knows him, and all of the department heads to whom hundreds of people reported into, they all said, you know what, we're going to inspire our teams because our teams listen to us. We're going to be part of your why message. So Vinayak, who's head of our team, he did a why video. Santanio, another one who manages 400 people, he did a why video. Why is this a milestone in our company important, right? So they all did the initial one. So these are the leaders that those hundreds of people look up to, right? I mean, they determine their promotions, their salaries and everything, and they've listened to them for years. So, all right, so you have the exec support. And then from a functional perspective, we are a global organization, and we have colleagues that are located all over the world. So we had to segment, right, our own colleagues. You talk about user segmentation, you're segmenting your colleagues. Okay, you segment them by at the exec leadership level, right? So I can tell you one of the secrets of success is amazing communication. I mean, at least 100 meetings, believe it or not. I mean, literally 100 meetings, right? Where you first meet with individual department heads, get their buy-in, answer all of their concerns. Okay, so everybody's aligned at that level. Then you have a training program just for the leadership team as to how they can best answer when their team members have all these questions that they're likely to have. So you equip them with resources. So my colleagues here, Tony and Jenna, they train them on time management the new way. And then we had colleagues who would train them on people skills, which is the most important one, right? So when David did his video series, he focused on how do you find the decision maker. Now, that's important because say you call a customer and ask them, are you the decision maker? The person is going to say, yes, I'm the decision maker, So here's a great tip he gave during the session, right? And I'm happy to share it with all of you. He says, then you tell them, okay, once you've made the decision, who else needs to be involved in this decision-making process, right? So then the person tells you who the other stakeholders are, right? Who are sometimes invisible and may remain invisible if you don't have that follow-on question. You're training all these engineers and architects, who are very logical and they're like product experts. They know how to do magic with our software, right? But you're trying to train them on people, conversations, and skills, the best practices, and then finding that person and then giving them options, right? Because as with every company, you have options to upsell, you have options to cross-sell, you have option to maybe they have a problem, and as someone who's been in that situation, happy customers whose problem you resolve are likely to trust you more. So if there's a problem that they're stuck in, you immediately zone in on the support ticket or escalation to resolve that, and then you see if you can upsell or cross-sell or offer them any services or products. And then having that subsequent conversation to a professional services proposal, and so on. So we focused on training them on that as well. So we train them on the technology, we train them on anything and everything it's going to take them to open the call to action and finish it successfully, and not stop there, because the result is not closing the incident or the request, right? What happens 3 months from then or 1 month from then, right? A positive outcome is where the trend continues to grow. So you have people not only engaging with the customer, but owning the outcome over a period of time. Sometimes there's a reversal in trend, right? Where they may be going up and suddenly it's disappeared and they've gone back to the old way. So you then call, hey, when we spoke last month, you said you were going this way. Why have you changed? So that iterative process that we saw in Kevin's slides, that becomes critical. And then what we also did is we had this challenge of adoption of our primary product, right? We wanted our users to have the latest and greatest of technology so that they can fully utilize all these amazing innovations that we've done and what we've learned from other customers like them, and we brought it all together, so we wanted all of them to use it. So we decided to certify our own employees, right? So for this, we offered 10 live sessions. I mean, my team and Vinayak team, we stayed up. We threw all-nighters because we wanted to get up, started quickly, right? So we analyzed where our colleagues were located and what time zones. We offered so many options, and we also gave them the option to do this entirely online. But we also wanted this to be fun, right? So every 5 or 10 minutes, we would have an interactive quiz. So that not only on the live chat, everybody had to type A, B, or C, right? And we would poll, and we'll know who's got the right answer. We did that on demand and live. So we made this such a fun experience, that Tony would call it, that everybody was so fully engaged. And we're never going to stop, because customer success is never ending. So we'll have to find ways to onboard them and engage them forever, As Totango releases new technology too, those will be the quicker, fun updates to train them on.
Wonderful. So we'll wrap it up with this. So we have a large audience here, a lot of different industries at various stages of their customer or client success programs. Might be at different stages of the career. So across any of those categories, career, program. If you could offer maybe one piece of advice, to the audience, what might that be? So, Katie.
Sure. I think as I've been sitting here the past, or today, just looking around, it reminded me of one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou that I just ran across the other day that said, "Do the very best you can until you know better. And once you know better, do better." And I feel that I'm in a room with a whole group of people that are interested in doing better, because customer success, if nothing else, is being proactive and ensuring that we keep the voice of the customer top of mind and keep our organizations moving forward. So with that being said, I would continue to champion being the change in the organization that you want to have. It's not always easy, but if you keep at it, there will be results, and your company will be happy and appreciative that you picked that up for them and ran with it, and your customers will thrive. So, yep.
Great advice, Jeff.
All right. I'd say this at the end of the day. So I've been on this side of the industry now a few years. I was a client for 19 years. So I think I've got a good perspective on both. At the end of the day, I would say three things matter: relationships, reputations, and results. It's as simple as that. I have never wanted to do business with a vendor. I have always wanted to do business with a partner. And now that I'm on this side of the industry, I never want to be thought of as a vendor. I always want to be thought of as a partner. And just go look up the definitions. There is a distinct difference between being a vendor to another organization or being a partner to an organization. And a big part of that is the type of relationship that you have with your clients. Secondly, reputation. I always kind of refer to it as the day of reckoning in terms of how you engage with your clients and the manner in which you set expectations and then ultimately deliver on those expectations. Because make no mistake about it, when you create an expectation with your clients or your customers, in their minds you're creating a commitment. And when you fail to deliver on that commitment, that leaves an impression on them, and it is not a good impression, right? So integrity, honesty, transparency, and most importantly, accountability matter to your clients. And then thirdly, results. I mean, particularly in healthcare, there's lots of conversations now about Medicare for all. There's lots of conversations and initiatives around pay for performance and value-based care, et cetera. And so I think healthcare is finally getting to the point where a lot of our other industries have already been, where more and more, whether you're a consumer, whether you're a provider, whether you're an organization like Waystar, it is about creating value. Value from an economic standpoint and value from an experiential standpoint. So if you keep those three things in mind, relationships, reputation, and results in all of your thinking and decisions and interactions with your clients, I think you will be well served.
Yeah, wonderful. And Shar?
No, thank you. That's a great answer, and I appreciate yours too. To add to those insights, I think one of the things that's best served me is to learn from what everybody else is doing, because we're not in this journey alone. So look for case studies, newsletters, articles, and only then can you not repeat the others' mistakes, but also leverage some of the best practices. And part two is to be the person who's actually creating those success stories, right? So as you talk to more of your colleagues, when you find out that a customer has done great using your product, make sure that you get something out of them, right? Be a testimonial, could be a simple email, could be a webinar, could be an opportunity where they speak at your conference, but you becoming that accelerant for a case study or a reference makes so much difference to your own company and everybody that you work with, because as he said this morning, right? Guy said this morning, that's what is going to inspire everybody, right? You should be that source of inspiration that ultimately is the customer, but you become that enabler for inspiration. So that's my ultimate thought. Thank you.
Good.
All right. So with that, so thank you. I really appreciate you sharing your stories and the journey with everyone. And just would say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So.